Okay, hello everyone. It's 4 o'clock, so we'll kick it off for today. So hello everyone, welcome to our webinar. Thanks so much for joining us today. I'm super excited to have you all here to discuss Shopify's checkout extensibilities and also the new customer accounts from Shopify. The goal of today's webinar will be to bring some clarity on both the checkout and the new account extensibilities to make them as valuable as possible for you as merchants. So we'll dive into as many examples as possible. It is super important to note that please, you can interrupt me during the presentation. I would love to have some interactions. I'm sitting here by myself in a room. It's always awesome that some people ask questions, so please don't be shy and interact where you see fit. You're more than welcome. So let's dive into it. Hope you're as excited as I am. This is what we'll discuss today. So first of all, we'll do a little intro that will not take more than 5 minutes normally. Then we'll dive straight into the checkout extensions. That's the biggest part of the presentation. It's 25 minutes, more or less, with some examples of how checkout extensions can be used. Then we dive into everything account related and the account extensions. And I'll also share some personal insights there of why I think Shopify made this leap to also create the account structure extensibilities. So yeah, please stay tuned for that as well. And obviously at the end, we have some room for questions, Q&A, but please also ask the questions during the presentation because we have a 15 minutes buffer anyways. So if you would like to chime in, please do so. So allow me to introduce Dear Digital for a minute. It will not take too long. We're a technical e-commerce agency. We focus on platforms such as Shopify, Odoo, Klaviyo, Gadget. Those are some of the platforms that we mostly use. Also Firmhouse for subscription-based businesses. One key point that I just want to raise here is, as an agency, we really want to stand on the shoulders of giants. So this is why we select the platforms that you see in front of you, so that we have to do as little of the boring in between brackets, repetitive work as possible, so that we can focus as an agency on creating value for everyone and not doing the same stuff all over again. These are some of our services that we have as an agency, probably a lot of things that you guys have already heard about. They range from custom design tracks, CRO stuff, replatforming, but we also do a lot of Odoo things such as systems analysis, etc., and implementations for your backend. So these are all the services that you can find under our one roof. So please reach out to us if you have any questions about those. We have been building a team in the last couple of years. We're now 40 plus people. We're very proud of our multicultural team that relentlessly shows up every single day to deal with the challenges that we love to be engaged with. So it's a really cool team, very proud of it. And this is more or less what Dear Digital is. Obviously, we were going to be nowhere without our customers. So we had the opportunity and the honor to work with some of these companies. So all power to them because they have been working with us. Thank you so much. Now, the intro of the people that you have in front of you. You see me, but there are also some people in the back end. So first of all, we have Emile, who set up everything, organized the emails, the webinar, etc. So thank you so much, Emile, for trying to set everything up. Hopefully everybody hears me fine, as that has been some of the last couple of hours that Emile has spent on. Then we have Michiel as well, one of our most battle-tested developers and engineers at Dear Digital. So if things get really technical and you have some technical questions, he will chime in as well. Then myself, Sam, I'm one of the co-founders of Dear Digital. I've been on the technical side of e-commerce for a while now. After stopping my studies, or after I had done my studies, I started a brand with a couple of friends. We had an online furniture brand. We sold it a couple of years ago. And now I'm building an agency together with the team that you just saw. You can also follow us via LinkedIn. We have an e-commerce club, we call it Ecom Club. So stay tuned for future webinars, dinners, events, and so much more. So please, you can follow us there. Okay, so let's dive into the real meat of this webinar. It's checkout extensibility. So it's maybe worth to really check out these two words that are on the screen. It's checkout and extensibility. The checkout is obviously one of the most important parts of the Shopify platform. So it's one of the core parts that Shopify gives us when we are part of their SaaS tool. Obviously, it needs to be secure, it needs to be scalable, and it's really battle tested. But the extensibility part is what we are discussing today. It also needs to be customizable. And before, actually, Shopify used a different paradigm that we're now slowly saying farewell to. It's checkout.liquid and the changes that you could do there. And now we're actually changing towards checkout extensibility. And it's really a whole paradigm shift that they took. And so I want to discuss a bit more of what this concept is of checkout extensibilities. So yeah, let's let our friend Harvey chime in here. He's the president of Shopify. He's a very colorful figure. And so here is a quote of how he sees checkout extensibilities. I would surely recommend following him on social media. He's a very energetic guy with a lot of knowledge. He's quite the legend. So for sure, follow him on the socials. So then it's a bit of a boring slide, but it really captures what the change is that Shopify has been building. So before, if you're on Shopify Plus, you probably have heard of checkout.liquid before. This was actually the way to change the checkout because, as we all know, the checkout of Shopify is very secure, it's very scalable, and so we couldn't really actually touch it before. If you were on Shopify Plus, we had a way to touch it, and that was via checkout.liquid. It was more or less really a code base, or part of the code base, obviously, that we had access to and that we could change. But this had a whole lot of difficulties because once, and as it's a SaaS tool, Shopify, right, they're constantly updating everything. But if you made changes to the checkout.liquid, you were actually not really able to do these upgrades anymore because you could really change the code of the checkout. And so for Shopify, it was unclear after you made those changes if that checkout, if that code that decided upon the checkout was still upgradable, yes or no. So this is what they are now changing with checkout extensibility. I'm also going to show this a little later on, how I see this personally in one of my little drawings. But on the right side, you actually see how the checkout is now extended. Maybe you can't really see it that well, but on the left side of the right image, in the green part, you can actually see that there are little blocks that you can take and drag around. So this is actually how you can extend with these little blocks your checkout. And this is done completely different because, like I said, in the old days, you had a standard checkout of Shopify. You could kind of fork or copy it and you could change it, but that meant that it was not updatable anymore. And so that was actually a shame because that meant that you were actually paying for Shopify, paying for that secure, hyper-scalable checkout. But once you did some changes, you couldn't really update it anymore. So this is why they have been working relentlessly to shift to a new paradigm. And this is the checkout extensibility paradigm, where you take the checkout and you actually extend it on certain parts. You also see on the right side of the image that you have certain blocks that you can add to that checkout, but you keep the core of the Shopify checkout alive. You just extend it. You don't really copy it and change it, you extend it. And this makes sure that this is updatable. So you actually have best of both worlds in this case. You can extend it so it's customizable, and you can still have all the upgrades that Shopify pushes constantly. So this is then the little drawing. Hopefully you understand it a bit more with this. It's kind of a very important concept, so hopefully you bear with me for a second. So the first two parts, you buy actually a package of code, right? If you pay for Shopify, so you get some code, you get some logic. It's in a kind of a box. You get the box with code, and you pay for it, and it's green, it's updatable. You just use the standards of Shopify. But then if you think about the checkout and you think about the code and the logic of that checkout, and you want to change it in the old paradigm with checkout.liquid, you actually copied that and changed a lot of stuff. But again, that made it non-updatable anymore. So now what they actually did is they made the box of the code extendable. So the little doors you have there are the things that we are going to discuss today. Those are APIs with which you can extend the still updatable checkout that Shopify provides you with. And these are the doors. So the doors, the gateways into that updatable checkout is what we are going to check out today or discuss today. So what are the different types of extensions? I'm now talking about checkout extensions, right? So what are the doors that we could enter the checkout with? So these are all of them. They don't really say a lot yet. Maybe you have been reading up about them a lot, which would be great. But this is the list. So it's checkout UI extensions. It's a GraphQL API. It's Shopify Functions that you probably heard about already. It's the post-purchase extensions, and it's the Web Pixel app extensions. So let's look at them from another angle, so to say. So here you have them again at the left. So you have the technology, right? The extension itself. And here in the middle, you can see what they are more or less about. So you can add, in the first one with the checkout UI extension, you can add custom UIs or content on both the checkout and also the order status pages. These are available. We're going to come back to these on Shopify Plus, for example. Then you have the GraphQL admin API. You can change a lot of the look and the feel of the checkout. So you can completely change it and make it brand aligned with the GraphQL admin API. This is also only available on Shopify Plus. Then you have the checkout functions. You can extend and replace some of the core functionality, some of the core e-commerce logic of Shopify with these Shopify functions. And then there is the post-purchase checkout extensions that you can actually change the pages that you see after you have done the checkout. So you have the thank you page, and then you can squeeze in another page, which is the post-purchase page on Shopify. And then you have the Web Pixel APIs. Those are very important as well if you want to measure what your customers are doing. Because like I said, again, Shopify actually manages the checkout, right? So it's really hard for us to measure in that checkout what people are clicking on, what people are doing, because it's actually managed and fenced off, so to say. But with these Web Pixel apps, we can actually have an impact to see what people are clicking on or doing. So these are all the checkout extensions a bit more into detail. Then we also have this slide, super important and interesting if you just to conceptualize what is possible. So the left side, you see what is possible on Shopify Plus. So you have the UI extensions. You can change the look and the feel, like I said, with the GraphQL admin API. You can offer post-purchase pages with the post-purchase extensions, UIs. You can validate stuff with Shopify Functions. Again, we will share the slides as well so you can have a deeper look. But these are also some ideas already of what you can do in which plan of Shopify. So at the left side, Shopify Plus. At the right side, everything but Shopify Plus. Okay, then again, a little list of what you can do on Shopify Plus and non-Shopify Plus. So with and also with public apps and non-public apps. This is super important. I'll come back to this as well. So one of the things, and this is again a bit more our view on things, you can start already today, right? So we are having this webinar. There are a lot of things that we can custom implement with these checkout extensions. But there are also a lot of public apps that you can try already with that are out there in the Shopify App Store that actually use those checkout extensions in those public apps. So you don't really have to wait that long to implement something and test with something, because those apps are out there in the App Store. They use the checkout extensions that we will be discussing today. And so you can play around with them already. And again, this is something that we as an agency love, because if you have certain requirements and those requirements fit certain apps, again, you can stand on the shoulders of the giants of the apps that are already out there. You don't really have to custom implement anything. You can just implement that app, see if it works, see if it has impact on your customer experience, see if it has impact on your AOV, for example, your LTV, etc. So you can actually already try stuff out after this webinar. You can go straight to work. This is one of the apps. It's a very good app. It's Belgian made, actually. So for adding, for example, upsells to your checkout, etc., for your AOV. And then this app also does a bit the same, but it can extend your fields that you have on your checkout. It can extend or change some of the branding elements. You can add some fields to your checkout. So this is also a public app that can do a lot of things. So you can go straight to work. So let's dive into the first in a bit more detail and see some of the examples. So first of all, this is a little video that you can see here. We use the checkout UI extensions to add upsells in your checkout. So you see actually the checkout process, and you see a product that is added to the checkout so that people can just add a product when they're actually already checking out. Obviously, this is a very handy tool, again, to increase your AOV. And you can make sure that the products that show up there, they match the products that are already in the basket or in the checkout. So you can actually do a whole lot of things that is super relevant for your store. This is one of the things that I think every single store on Shopify should test with, because it's just such an obvious one to test out with. Another one here is that you can provide additional fields, like the public app that I mentioned can do as well. You can actually say that you, for example, want a specific delivery instruction. This is something that we hear a lot as a question. So you can say, yes, I have an instruction. You can do it straight from the checkout itself, instead of in the cart, for example. And you can just say, yes, I want to add such an instruction, and then type it in right here. Then another one, yeah, you can, sometimes you sell products and you want to say something about this product because you don't have a lot of them in stock anymore. It's better that you compare or pair it with another of your products. There are certain legislatory or things in the legislator. Wow, shit, I don't find the word. Whatever. That you can adjust. So, for example, if you buy, I don't know, a kind of a chemical, you can say, yeah, please be aware this is a chemical that you're buying, etc. So you can add kind of announcements in the checkout itself, and so you can extend the information that you want to give in the checkout. So this is all done again with the checkout UI extensions, right? This is then on the thank you page actually already. So again, in the checkout that we are discussing right now, you have the page that you really add your addresses to and your payment details to. This is the checkout page. But then also actually in the checkout of Shopify, you have the post-purchase pages, which is, for example, the thank you page that you go towards if your payment has come through. So then here on this page that we all know, you say, okay, this order has been placed. You can also extend things on that specific page. For example, here you can add a survey to ask people how they get to your website. So this is a very interesting tool to measure how people could come to your website or how they knew about your brand, etc. Another one for people or merchants that sell alcohol, for example, you can add a validation additional to the checkout so that people only above a certain age can check out. Here, obviously, this is also extremely important because we're in Belgium, we're in Europe, there are a lot of different languages. So yeah, you can build maybe extensions on your checkout. You can ask for validation fields, you can ask for different additional fields that people can add information to. But we have to make sure that those are localized, right? Because if a French person checks out, or a Danish or a German person checks out, you want to make sure that all of these are localized. So this is all possible with the UI checkout extensions. You can actually localize them as well and make them relevant to a particular person in a particular language group. Then here a little scheme of how it actually works, right? So you go, what I just said before as well, you're a customer, you go to the checkout, you submit a checkout, and then later we will come back to the post-purchase extensibility. So this is the little drop back that you see. Or you go straight to the thank you page, or we had implemented some extensions that you go to the post-purchase page, where we can add a lot of stuff. Again, I will come back to this. But the UI extensions, it's important to understand that you can also extend the thank you page and the checkout page. So this is why we added this specific schema to it. Then obviously, we can add a lot of fields, but who knows, we make the battle-tested, extremely converting checkout of Shopify worse, right? So there are a lot of UX-related things that we really have to look out for. This is an obvious example, but we don't want to add fields so that the checkout becomes so large that people get actually distracted. No, we have to make sure that we understand how it will be how the customers will interact with those fields. And we have to make sure that we implement them correctly, following certain UX guidelines. Okay, then the second extension. So this is the GraphQL admin API. I have a little video about this. Normally it will play directly. So you can actually see that with this, with this extension, how incredibly brand aligned you can make the checkout. So you can just add colors, add logos, add fonts, everything that is very particular to your brand, you can actually add so that your checkout really is in the same theme, in the same feeling as your website has been. So this is something that you can do. And again, there are a lot of options that you can see in the little video that I just showed to give you a sense of what is updatable in the checkout with this GraphQL admin API. Okay, then a third one, Shopify Functions. Just going to take a sip. This is maybe a bit more abstract and harder to understand, so I'll really try my best to give as many examples as possible and bring it to life for you in the best possible way. So let's take a step back. If you actually order Shopify or you buy Shopify, right? You have a subscription to Shopify. If you get it very high level, you actually buy the module to have your front end. You actually buy their opinionated way of thinking about commerce, right? So this is their backend. In their backend, you have all the commerce related flows and logic. For example, you have discounting logic, you have variants, different colors, etc. So everything that is linked to commerce is actually in that backend, right? And obviously you have a database as well, where you can store your products, you can store your customers, etc., etc. So these are actually the three things that you have if you buy Shopify. But obviously this commerce logic that Shopify has added, there are only a certain number of things that you can do. This is made to make sure that as many of the merchants that are on Shopify can do the most possible things that probably they will need. But it's perfectly possible that you actually need a different kind of specific logic that you want to build in. And so this was not really possible before. But now with checkout functions, and this is the lock that you see is actually incredibly important. Shopify Functions enables or unlocks this backend for you so that you can actually extend some of the basic functionalities that Shopify gives you when you buy the platform or subscribe to the platform. It allows you to extend and to change that with Shopify Functions. So again, the Shopify Functions is a door, a gateway into changing the real commerce backend logic of Shopify itself. It is super important that again, this is in the extensible way because I mean, it's incredibly what you do here, you change the logic or the backend. It has a big impact, right? So Shopify still needs to make sure that it's secure, that it meets the performance requirements, et cetera, et cetera. And so this is why they give us a certain way to extend this backend so that we still have the performance that we actually want to achieve. So actually, again, it's a bit best of both worlds. You get everything that Shopify gives you. Shopify comes out with a lot of these different logics, additional logics, every single edition that they come out with. But we can also customize it in a scalable and secure way. So again, a bit best of both worlds. This is again the same thing. So the door principle that we have to the Shopify backend logic. It's a bit the same as I explained before. Okay, so some examples to make it real. So what can you now do with these Shopify functions, right? So one of the first examples is a discount example. So you can add custom discount logic. Again, this is something that normal discount logic is built into the backend of Shopify. But we can extend this with Shopify Functions. So you can add volume discounts, every single type of discount that you can think about, pairing certain products with each other, etc. This is something that you could do with Shopify Functions to make sure that you have the discount flow that really is close to what your brand needs and what your customers want. Maybe, again, if there are any questions, please reach out. I've now been talking, I think, for 25 minutes, more or less. So please interrupt me when you have some questions about the things that I'm discussing. Don't be shy. You're always welcome to chime in for a while. Payment customizations, this is an important one as well. So think about the fact that in certain countries, certain payment methods don't really need to be shown. Or you want to show an additional one, or you want to reorder them or restructure them. This is all done or something that you could do with Shopify Functions. So this is a concrete example of Shopify Functions. Delivery customization, again, a bit the same as the payment customizations. So you can say that in specific countries, for specific products, for combinations of products, that you can actually change the delivery logic and only, for example, show this delivery method if you have this combination of specific products, etc. Cart and checkout validation. So this is something that you can do. You can say, if it meets certain criteria, for example, you're above, you have to be above €1,000. Imagine that you ship very heavy items and you don't want people to buy something for $100 or €100 because it's just too expensive to ship. Then you could say, okay, I built an additional logic in that people cannot check out without having a certain reaching a certain threshold, for example. Bundles, this is a huge topic. Now the Shopify native app, Shopify Bundles also came out, but you can do and show everything bundle related with Shopify Functions in a different way. So this is also an extension that you can build in and you can use Shopify Functions for. Again, this is probably, for example, something that you can do if you buy certain products together. You show it in the checkout also in another way. You can show it with certain prices for those specific products that are different than the prices in the backend or when you would buy them separately, for example. So these are all things that you could change. Fulfillment constraints. It's an interesting example. So what you could, for example, do is say, so imagine you have different locations that you ship stuff from. You have a store, you have a 3PL, but specifically when people order 3 of a certain kind of product together, and they, for example, enable gift wrapping, then you could write a Shopify function that says, okay, if they buy these 3 items and they want gift wrapping, we will send or route this order to the fulfillment center of the shop because people still need to do some manual work to be able to ship those items in the correct way. So this is a fulfillment constraint or a fulfillment change that you can do with Shopify Functions. Cool. The fourth checkout extension, post-purchase checkout extension. This one is still in beta, so probably you haven't heard of this one before. So here, what you can actually do, like we showed before, is that people, when they check out, you can actually add some logic. For example, you could say if they bought product X, in this case only, I will shove a additional page into the checkout flow before people reach the thank you page. So you could say, for example, if they buy a skateboard and they didn't buy any trucks or wheels or whatever, then I will say that you have to add a page, and I will show a little example, that additionally offers the trucks and the wheels of the skateboard. And only then, after you have checked that page or went through that page as a customer, and you clicked, yes, I want this, or yes, I don't, or no, I don't want this, then you will be taken to the thank you page, for example. So let's see the example. So you see here, so this is the post-purchase page. So after you actually checked out, you can say, okay, I will show this page in between, and you can actually add this line item to the order, and then it shows up in the thank you page that you actually really also bought this item. So again, it increases the average order value, and you really capture the customer when they are very interested to buy because they actually went through the checkout. Some examples that you can do, because now I showed an upsell or a cross-sell opportunity with those post-purchase checkout pages, but you can also do a lot of other things. For example, again, you can do a specific survey, not just with a little block like we showed before in the UI extensions, but you can do a whole page about a review, or with some additional videos, or with some additional information or images, etc. You can request feedback, or you can tell people that you can add feedback. You can also, for example, add a discount code. So if people bought a certain product, then you can say, oh, you bought product A. Now you get 10% off on product B, because it's very close to product A, or it would be very good to use those products together, for example. So this is another thing that you could do. Loyalty signups, obviously, and important notifications if they bought something in a certain area, or they bought product Y or X, then you can say, okay, I want to show a specific notification in the post-checkout flow to show those people what they are actually buying, or what is worth knowing about the product that they bought. Cool. Then one about measuring stuff. We all obviously want to know what our customers do, what customers click on, what customers churns, what customers added to their cart, etc. Now with everything that changed, especially the people that had checkout.liquid, we just went to checkout.liquid, we added a little script there, and we could measure the things in the checkout. But now it's not that easy anymore, again, because it's fenced off. Basically, we can just not have the code of the checkout and just boom, add a little script to it. Shopify added the extensibility to do it, and this is one of the checkout extensions. So what you can actually do there, or the options that Shopify provides, you can have two more or less extensions here. You can have the web pixels, and you can have the server pixels. Probably you all know, you all have heard about server-side tracking. So this is the second one, obviously. So you can actually set up a whole range of things to make sure that there are customer events that you can measure in the checkout as well with this checkout extension. So yeah, if you really want to do this and you really want to measure all of these things, then you can implement it in this way. Obviously, there are also a lot of other tools like Converge that can also do this and have server-side tracking and also measure in the checkout of Shopify. But this is a really important one if you are interested in everything your customers do in the checkout process. Cool. Again, so we actually, it's 4:30. So we had our intro 5 minutes. Now we had the checkout extensions 25 minutes. So we're more or less on schedule. Is there anything that anybody who wants to ask a question before we dive into the new account extensibility part, which is the second part of our presentation? If not, then I will just continue. I'm quite excited about this one, to be really honest, because like I said, I have a particular opinion about this. Will be a bit hard to explain it in very short, but I'll try my utmost best for everybody out there. I'm really super excited. So again, if you have feedback about this, let me know. Cool. So checkout account extensions, more or less the same concept, right? As the account extensions, more or less the same concept as checkout extensions. But you can ask yourself the question, so indeed, before Shopify owned the checkout process already, okay, you could have checkout.liquid, but it didn't really own the account structure yet. And now actually Shopify is going to own the account structure. You can still choose the old account structure, by the way. You can just do it with a click of a button, but you can also use the passwordless new account structure. But why is Shopify doing this? Here Harvey says it again, what he thinks that people can do. So it's a bit of the same concept as the checkout extensions. So again, developers will be able to add a lot of cool features to the account pages in a secure and super scalable way. But now let's think a bit about why specifically Shopify would do this, right? So again, if you let's take another example. So you have Shop Pay. You probably all know Shop Pay. You have, for example, Amazon Pay or PayPal. So what are these services actually? They make it easy for people to have a one-click checkout. So basically, it's a kind of a wallet, right? Those things. So you go to the checkout and you say, I want to check out with ShopPay. They have your address in there saved somewhere. They have your payment methods saved somewhere. And you can just say, yes, click. It's that address. It's that payment method. You don't really have to type in your numbers of your credit card anymore. So they make it easy for you to check out because all of those things have been saved before already. If you now think about this concept of a wallet where some information lives, right? If you think about this in the account structure world, so you have millions of different merchants on Shopify. They all have their own storefronts. They all have their own account sections. They all have their own passwords. All of the people, the customers on those different websites, they have their own passwords. And there is no real additional layer on top of all of the stores that merchants have. And this is, I think, where Shopify is trying to change something to leverage the scale of Shopify. I'm going to take maybe an example that is a bit out there, but I think that you will fastly understand why this is so relevant. Imagine that you have an avatar. So this is the funny picture that we have here. So I'm actually on the Asket website. And then we always see when we are shopping for fashion, we see all of those beautiful models on our website. But actually, we want to see those clothes on ourselves, right? We're not really interested in how it looks specifically on a beautiful model. We want to know how it looks on ourselves. And so imagine that you can push in your avatar on the website, and you can see both the images with the model, but also your own body in that specific jersey or a sweater here in this example. This would be amazing. But if you then think about this, then it would suck a bit in terms of customer experience, because in the old paradigm, that would mean that you needed to have an avatar in all of those stores that you frequently go to buy fashion. So you had to upload your avatar to shop X, Asket, for example, but also to shop Y. So what I think Shopify is doing by claiming the whole account structure is that they actually want to have all of that information, for example, an avatar, but this can also be just your shoe size or your preferred t-shirt size, etc. That can all be stored in that layer above, so that when you log in with that Shopify account, then the website can be personalized from the get-go. It can be highly relevant for you specifically. And even if avatar technology progresses, it can show you in the clothes of all of those websites or Shopify stores. So I think that this is why Shopify is claiming it, because actually they want to leverage their scale to help the merchants deliver a service that before only huge brands or huge platforms such as Amazon could play with, because yeah, you were your little store in your little island. You couldn't really leverage those crazy technologies that I just mentioned. And Amazon obviously could do it, because you always go to Amazon to buy everything, right? So they could have a centralized avatar that you can use in the Amazon experience. But now Shopify tries to leverage that technology for the smaller merchants. So I couldn't be more excited about this. But let's land from our exciting times that are ahead of us and just think about what you can do with the current account structure extensibilities. So basically here you see all of the different pages that you have in an account structure and how you can adjust those. Again, let's make it even more concrete. What you can do now with the extensions, more or less like we discussed with the checkout extensions, is that you can, on the order index page, which is the page that you will see and after the passwordless login, of the brand, you can see the purchases that you have made as a customer, but you can extend that, for example, with suggested products, with the history, etc., etc. The order status page, you can also add some stuff to it to make sure that a customer understands where their order exactly is. If you have some additional information about this, you can always build that in with the account extensibilities. You can then add profile-specific stuff, and you can also add just completely new pages. For example, think about if you have a survey that you want to keep within the account structure, of somebody, because you have a quiz to make sure that you understand what type of a person this person is that visits your store. You can have a page with the account extensibilities. You can build a custom page with a quiz in it, for example, where you can add some additional information, or you can gather some additional information. So these are all really concrete ideas that you can use to add this to the account structure and to make the experience even more rich. Again, while still having the possibility for all of the code to be updatable, because it's, again, an extension. It's not just a copy of the code base. So you can still leverage all of the potential new features that Shopify will push, while actually also having your customized flows in there, which make it, again, best of both worlds. Okay, then we actually discussed a lot of things. Again, you can do it with public apps as well, but we actually discussed a lot of customization that could be potentially specific to your store. And all of these things, they require actually kind of micro apps, if you will, because those apps will then use some of the extensions that we have just discussed to make your store more customized and aligned with what you want to reach as a merchant. And this is, again, why we use Gadget, because we want to make sure that everything is as easy as possible. Again, we want to stand on the shoulders of giants. We don't want to do the boring and repetitive work. And this is where actually Gadget comes in. It was built by some former Shopify employees, and we can leverage the integrations between Shopify and Gadget already, so that we don't have to start over from scratch every single time we make such a micro app to do a specific thing that we just discussed, or one of the things that we just discussed. So here is the summary of what Gadget does. It's the potential to build faster and maintain less. So this is super important for us as an agency to show that we really care about building in this way. Then maybe, and I'm nearly at the end here, so we're moving towards the Q&A section. In a couple of days, actually, I thought it was actually a bit earlier even, but apparently it's the 31st of January. So in a couple of days, the new Shopify edition, winter edition, will come out. So please stay tuned for that. This is obviously, it's 2 times a year these days. So they have the winter and the summer edition. They are packed with new features. So it will be, again, super exciting to see what Shopify has come up with or has been building the last couple of months. So please stay tuned and join the e-commerce club if you want to stay up to date. And now we are actually arriving at the question section. So if you have any specific questions, you can surely ask them, because probably it's a lot of new information as well. So please, I give the word to you guys. Ask us everything that you would love to ask. And thanks for listening. Nobody questions. I don't see the chat, so maybe I should open it. Yes. So there are some questions in the chat. Pum, pum, pum. I'll just scroll for a while. Checkout extension, we can modify that on the DB database. Can we further productize that particular checkout for other stores on Shopify? So a bus is asking something, I think, more productized indeed. So yes, if you make something for a specific merchant and that could be useful for other merchants as well, then you can actually make an app out of it and sell it to other customers too. This is exactly why public apps exist, is that they think that they can customize certain things that is also relevant for other merchants. So yes, this is possible. Obviously, I mean, there are a lot of things that you have to do. You have to build a website, you have to build the app, you have to make sure that people understand what your app do. You have to make sure that there is support. You have to update everything. You have to make sure that you have a database where everything is stored, etc. So it's not that easy, but it's certainly exactly the way to go. Okay. I see that Michiel already also answered it. I'm not able to measure all the way through to checkout and see what customers churn for. What can I do? So this is exactly what you can do with the web pixel APIs or the, yeah. So if we go back with the slides, it's this part, web pixel app extensions. So you can actually implement the APIs that Shopify gives us to make sure that you understand where customers are clicking on. So for example, some customer events that you want to listen to, if people click or they just abandon the checkout or they delete, yeah, they don't really give in their address information or yeah, other things that they do, you can actually use this checkout extension to measure it better. So this is certainly something that you can implement. Yes. Yes, one-page checkout. Very good question. So if you use the new checkout extensibilities, you can actually just a click of a button to change from a 3-page checkout process to a 1-page checkout process. So we certainly recommend to try the 1-page checkout because, yeah, it just diminishes the different steps that you have to go towards. So it really makes a lot of sense to try and use the 1-page checkout. It's available for all of the stores that have the new checkout. If you started a store lately, you will have the new checkout already installed, or you won't have the old checkout, and then you will be able to swap it from 1-page checkout to a 3-page checkout. And we think it makes a lot of sense to swap to a 1-page checkout for sure. It's not necessary to upgrade. So even non-Shopify Plus stores will be able to use a 1-page checkout. It was rolled out for Shopify Plus stores, I think, earlier. But now I think in the meantime, everybody can use that already. So you don't really have to upgrade in any way. Any more questions? Okay. What can I do for my brand to create more insight in my customer? So yeah, there are a lot of interesting examples that we have discussed before. So for example, you can add a survey to the thank you page or to a post purchase page where you ask where those people came from, where they heard about your brand, what they like about your brand, why they bought the specific product that they bought. So there are a lot of options to understand more about your customer with indeed UI extensions or post-purchase checkout extensions. So those are all things that you can do with the checkout extensions that are really valuable indeed to create more insight into your customer. Yes. Cool. Thanks a lot. Any other questions? It's getting a bit more silent. We still have some time. Obviously, you can always reach out to us via email or on LinkedIn or wherever you find us to ask your questions. It's not necessarily the case that you need to do it here in the webinar itself, but it's always cool to try and have some discussions. Okay. I think we'll leave it open for the next couple of minutes. But if we don't get a lot of different answers in the next couple of minutes, then we will just stop it and you can ask your questions when the webinar is done. So thanks so much for listening. Yeah, I would have loved to have gotten some feedback, because it's always awesome to get some feedback if we have to do this in the future. Obviously, with the new Shopify editions, we will try to do another webinar. So you are always welcome to join. And thank you so much for subscribing, and I hope you enjoyed it a lot. Thank you so much.